Hello, I'm Melissa Doyle and this is Sunday Night. Pete Evans, what's he really like? The star of MKR, brand name on everything from cookware to the kitchen sink, lifestyle guru to a legion of followers. And of course, there are the radical views on touchy subjects like fluoride and baby food. But there's also a private Pete the public rarely sees. Tonight, he opens up his country retreat and willingly faces a grilling from Alex Cullen.
I just love teaching people how to cook. So if you can cook a beautiful dish for your family or your kids or your partner or yourself, and they go, yum, that was awesome. That was one of the best meals I've ever eaten. Thank you so much. And you're fantastic. You know,
Job done.
Job done. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you, yourself.
I think there's a bit of a movement towards listening to celebrities, and everything that they say can be believable because they're very confident and they're very charming in their attitudes.
There's nothing fancy here. No magic. There's no brainwashing.
Should we be taking advice from someone like Pete Evans, medical advice?
Would you take medical advice from a chef?
No.
Well, there's a big answer.
I think they should leave him alone for a bit. Let him be. Let him be.
Hey, g'day, Alex. How are you?
Awesome. Yourself?
Very well, thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
In the hot seat.
Again. Peter Darrell Evans.
You can call me Pete.
Thanks. You are enormously successful. You have your critics. There are controversies. Why are you doing this today?
Being on this program, I guess there's a lot of information that's out there in the media, and a lot of it isn't true. So this gives us an opportunity to hear it from the horse's mouth, if you like. And very rarely do I guess, I won't say fight back, but how would I say it? Yeah, let's just share the truth.
We'll get to that and some rather testy moments later. Doctors are telling me that this evidence doesn't exist, and I wanted to put that to you.
You're a journalist. No disrespect, but you ask me questions that you should be doing the research on yourself.
But to fully understand Pete Evans, you have to go where he's most comfortable.
You name it, you can eat the best food in the world right here in Australia.
We're on our way to a secluded farm in the coastal hinterland of northern New South Wales. It's where I'll get to meet the women in Pete's life.
It's beautiful. The girls are probably with the horses or with the chickens or in the garden, so we'll see them soon, no doubt.
Come on. Come on. Quick.
Pete has created an idyllic hobby farm for his wife, Nick, and two daughters, Chili, who's 12, and Indy, 10, and their treasured horses, Ollie and Zorro.
So you're all over the world, you're all over Australia with your job. It must be so nice to come back here and just relax.
This is paradise for us, and we're going to grow old here and create beautiful experiences and memories for the kids as well.
Yeah. Do you eat everything Dad cooks?
Yeah.
Really?
Most of it.
Right, that's good. All your vegetables?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Spinach?
Mm-hmm. Except oysters.
Except oysters.
Ladies first.
Certain types of seafood, no. But surfing, yes. And your daughters, what do they mean to you?
Oh, my daughters are just beautiful. They're amazing. They're amazing. They're both unique. They both have their own wonderful personalities.
Chili and Indy are from Pete's first marriage to former Australian Olympic skier Astrid Edlinger. He married Nicola Robinson last year.
I just can't believe I've got no knickers on.
Before she found Pete, Nicola was living the life of a celebrity model in her native New Zealand.
Not enough clothes on either.
I wasn't noticing that.
Were you leading a natural life in those days?
Oh. No, I wasn't leading a natural life, which is why I have 2 toxic silicone implants attached to my chest. Deepest regret of my life. You know, I dabbled in fillers, Botox, all sorts of things that were driven by my fear to try and make myself feel better. So, and I wasn't eating the right foods, so no, I wasn't living the clean, pristine life that I do now.
And how did that change?
My husband actually, Pete, has been a phenomenal guide for me. He has led me to really seek and be the best I can be.
You were getting emotional there.
Yes, I do get emotional when I think about the love that he and I share.
They met in Adelaide 5.5 years ago while Pete was shooting an episode of MKR.
How would you describe Pete in 3 words?
Trusting, accepting, and authentic.
Not a bad fella.
A very, very special fella.
And how was your relationship with the girls as a stepmother?
They are by far one of the greatest blessings I've ever been bestowed. And it's just three girls, 3 farm girls, living a beautiful adventure together.
And this is one of the family's favourite places.
It's as big as you, Indy.
It's where Pete grows his fresh ingredients, the family veggie patch out the back.
So good on burger patties.
It's all organic, all natural, all good.
You want some?
Sure, why not? Looks good. How many chickens have we got?
We have got, how many, about 20?
All this fresh food is part of Pete's popular but controversial diet called the paleo way. The diet ditches the grains and dairy, replacing them with meat and veggies. He lives it, and so do his tens of thousands of followers.
Across the board, they say by removing grains, removing the dairy, removing the legumes, removing the toxic oils, eating a low-carb, healthy fat paleo approach, they're getting better very, very quickly. They're improving their health. I mean, we've seen it over and over again that this way of eating reverses type 2 diabetes. And guess how quickly it takes? 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 3 months.
Back in the kitchen, Pete's paleo food is on the menu. A pork belly has been slowly roasting.
Chef.
I'm told this is an ordinary, everyday lunch in the Evans household.
I can't wait to eat that.
Pumpkins, cucumbers, lettuces, whatever.
And so, Nick, is this man here right now the same as the one on TV? Is there any difference?
Oh my goodness, no, he transforms into this completely different person when he puts on a suit.
The flavour is there.
I disagree. The combination of everything on that plate, it was very hard to eat. I score you a 4.
When you're testing the food,
Yes.
what happens? Do you actually eat that? Do you spit it out? What happens? Do you spit it out? Because it's not exactly paleo, is it?
No, of course I don't spit it out. Are you crazy?
That's what I've heard.
Who would even think of such a thing to even say? I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing this show for 8 years, this competition, and it's great. I look forward to each and every meal that I get to judge. I mean, it's a complete honour. We love being able to judge the food.
Right.
And it's part of the job and we love it.
So you do eat it? Yeah.
Of course I eat, mate, yes. You know, imagine if I was sitting there with 10 teams around me or however many teams and I said, oh, excuse me for a minute, and...
Yeah. That wouldn't be a good look.
Do you think I'd be in this position?
No.
MKR made Pete the biggest name in cooking in Australia. He's also one of the most outspoken. But it wasn't always that way. His mum, Joy, says he was the quiet one.
He wasn't noisy, he wasn't naughty. He was always an easy child. I never really had any problem with him.
I've read that you suffered from crippling shyness.
Yeah, I was a really shy kid at school, that's for sure. And it's been something that's sort of been with me all my life. Even now, I like to keep a pretty low profile, believe it or not. And
that's surprising.
and really just be around my family unit, my kids, my wife, our animals, and live a pretty quiet life.
At 17, Pete headed to Melbourne to become an apprentice chef.
How many hours a week are you doing?
I started off probably doing anywhere from 60 to 80 hours a week just to support myself. At the age of 19, that jumped up to 80 to 100 hours, maybe 110 hour, 120 hour weeks.
Hard work paid off. Pete and his brother David opened Hugo's, their first Sydney venture in 1996. A few years later, a young Frenchman put his CV under the door. His name was Manu.
Wow. A French chef in Bondi. So straight away I got on the phone and said, can you come in basically today or tomorrow and start? And that was the beginning of our long-term mateship or friendship. And he's like a brother to me. I love him dearly and we have the utmost respect for each other.
Despite what some publications say.
Oh, you would never read anything in those magazines that say that we don't like each other.
So you're setting the record straight here. You and Manu are great mates.
Manu and I are best mates, yes. Hand on my heart, and he would say exactly the same thing.
Hello.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If we could have your attention just for a minute, please.
At the official launch of MKR Season 8, Pete and Manu are holding court.
You wore white.
Well, you told me that you were going to wear white, so I just wanted to look like you.
Manu is keen to put those rumours about friction in the kitchen to rest.
We don't argue. We work without communicating. Like, we've worked together for so long. It's like working with your best mate, really.
Oh, right. Despite what some tabloids have said.
You don't believe everything you read.
Pete's +1 is his mum, Joy.
So good!
Who's happy to see Manu, her second favourite chef. And Manu's mother and stepfather are here too, all the way from France.
So Michelle and Evelyn.
It feels like a cheerful family reunion, but the heat is about to be turned up in Pete's kitchen. When Pete Evans isn't entertaining millions on TV,
Shall we do it?
he's drawing big crowds.
Come on in. Let's go.
They've gathered to hear him preach about his biggest passion, the paleo way.
He's a pretty charming fella, isn't he?
He is. I think we're all happy to have selfies with him.
Nearly 1,000 people, mostly women, have come to feel the love.
His name starts with Pete, ends in Evans. He's a bit of a legend. A massive round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
This gathering has all the hallmarks of a church service. His followers are reverent, adoring, starstruck too. They call themselves the tribe, and Pete is very much their leader.
Paleo is really, really simple. It's basically meat and 3 veg. That's it.
Does Pete Evans walk on water?
Yeah, he does for me.
So paleo works across the board for a lot of people.
Are you liking what you're hearing?
Loving it. Yeah.
But for all the love in this room for Pete's alternative views, there are many who believe he's just too alternative. His advice on sunscreen, fluoride, and what to feed babies has generated widespread hysteria and some heated debates.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm talking to intelligent people here.
Oh, don't insult our intelligence. Do not insult our intelligence.
We thought we were talking to an intelligent person as well.
And we're going to show you some delicious recipes as well, using some of my favourite ingredients, such as offal and broth. And no, it won't kill you, babies.
I have nothing against him at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just find that if he's telling people bad advice, he needs to be called out on that.
Sydney GP Brad Mackay has been practicing for 15 years and even had a stint as a celebrity doctor on a TV series. Dr. Mackay claims Pete Evans isn't qualified to provide health advice.
We're going to talk about broth, or bone broth in particular. There's a lot of misinformation out there about in the media about what this does or does not do.
I think there's a bit of a movement towards listening to celebrities. There's certainly a halo effect where celebrities will often glow and everything that they say can be believable.
Can that advice be dangerous?
Definitely. Yeah, we've heard all sorts of different things coming out from Pete Evans. One of the things that I really took a disliking to was talking about sunscreen and saying that it wasn't necessary.
Is it hurting our skin? It's not hurting our skin, Pete.
How do you know?
Have we got any proof, Pete?
Yeah, but what are the...
Have you got any proof?
Last year, Pete was asked on Facebook what sunscreen he used.
And I said, generally none, because we only go out of the sun for 30 minutes or so and try to do that every single day because so many of us are lacking vitamin D. But I did say in that comment, I said, but if we go out in the middle of the day for long periods of time when we're going to go for a surf, then I use a non-toxic sunscreen. So this is what I've got on the kids' faces here and putting on my own here, because a lot of sunscreens, as I said, are full of sort of toxic chemicals that you just would not put on your face or for your kids' faces. So I've never said don't use sunscreen. I've just said make sure you choose one that is the least toxic that's out there.
To apply sunscreen or not is just one of Pete's public relations disasters.
Am I covered?
None bigger than the baby broth brouhaha.
Pete Evans promotes broth over breast milk. You know, that's the one that always gets regurgitated in the media, and never have we said that.
Yeah.
It was our book that came out a few years ago, and we promote breast milk first and foremost.
In the book Bubba Yum Yum, Pete suggested a liver and bone broth recipe for babies who couldn't have breast milk.
It's a controversial cookbook that's caused quite a stir.
The outcry that followed led to the book being pulped by the publisher. Pete then revised it and published it himself.
He's always advocated for breastfeeding, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, also like saying that bone broth is another alternative. Yeah, it's certainly a poisonous recipe, and that's why the book was taken off the shelves, because it could potentially harm people.
Why did you get into so much trouble over that book?
Well, because a journalist wrote a lie about it, which then got regurgitated through all the media outlets that said Pete Evans promotes bone broth over breast milk. And I never said that. It's in the bloody book. It says breast milk, breast milk, breast milk, breast milk. I don't know how many more times I have to say it. The bone broth recipe that's in there, right, there's certain children out there, babies, that can't take human milk.
If anything, Pete is more outspoken than ever. Last year, he advised a woman with osteoporosis to cut dairy from her diet because of evidence he claimed that dairy removed calcium from our bones.
Where is that information coming from? That you're saying dairy takes calcium from your bones?
We've shared that information in the Paleo Way program as well, and you can read it in many different scientific journals as well. It's just a known fact that it's a myth to think that drinking cow's milk is the be-all and end-all for calcium intake.
But that's a pretty big statement, to say that dairy takes calcium from your bones.
I mean, the calcium dairy myth is the best piece of marketing I've ever heard. And they're going to hold on to that for group life.
I think he's very happy to go down a natural path and talk about having natural things. The sun is very natural, so that's what he's advocating, whereas he's saying that drinking milk from a cow isn't natural. Yeah, but if we're eating a cow, then is that natural?
And Pete's picked a fight with state health authorities over the safety of fluoride in drinking water.
What evidence is there that suggests that fluoride, very low levels, is bad for us?
I'll send you the studies.
Okay.
There's a mountain of evidence out there.
Right.
And again, I'm confused as to why you wouldn't have done that when you're going to ask me these questions.
No, I'm asking you, but doctors are telling me that this evidence doesn't exist, and I wanted to put that to you.
You're a journalist.
You're telling me that
a lot of the times I feel like when I sit across from a journalist, and no disrespect, but you ask me questions that you should be doing the research on yourself. And being armed with this information first, I mean, your response then is doctors have told me. Why are doctors experts in fluoride? And what are their qualifications to be up to date with the neurotoxins that fluoride is?
And they would ask you the same question.
Yeah, and I'll send them the information that if they ask.
Yeah.
You know, there's a mountain of information.
Fluoride is fantastic for decreasing down cavities, especially in children. They can get gum infections, but that infection can also get into their bloodstream as well and cause problems with their heart valves too.
Are you aware of any evidence, any studies that fluoride in small doses is bad for you?
There's no evidence to show that it is bad for you at all.
You know, if I asked you, do you think fluoride is a health food? Or do you think it's a health ingredient?
Well, I know
what's your response?
Well, I know that's one of the top 10 medical breakthroughs of the last century.
For what?
For stopping dental cavities.
Do they?
Do you take criticism well, do you think?
It depends who the criticism comes from and what it's about.
Because they do attack you. And they say you're kooky, they say you're wacky, they say you have insane views. Does that hurt?
Not at all. No, because I even show the kids some of the articles that have been written and point to them, the lies, and just show them how certain sectors of the media work.
A lot of them argue that you don't have the qualifications to say these things. How do you respond to that?
What do you need a qualification for to talk common sense? That's what I say to it. Again, why do you have to study something that is outdated, that is industry-backed, that is biased, that is not getting the results? That would be insane to study something that you're going to waste your time with. That's just crazy. It is just crazy.
Back at the family farm, Nick avoids the headlines and headaches that come with Pete speaking his mind.
The poor guy's just trying to tell people to reconnect with their food, to feed their families nourishing, wholesome goodness. He's not a whack job. It's
well, occasionally.
It's common sense, you know.
Despite it all, Pete's life's pretty good. At home, at the MKR office, and among his adoring tribe.
Hello.
And even though it can get pretty hot in Pete's kitchen...
Thanks for asking. You're only the 1000th person to ask that question.
No, look, I know.
He's not planning to get out anytime soon.
I know where I'm going, and I know the choices I have to make that will enable me to get there and to live the life that I want to do, which is how I'm living now. So what I'm doing works for myself. And if it ever doesn't, then I'll change.